Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. My name is Suzanne, and I'm the head coach at Grace Financial Coaching. And I am super excited to welcome my friend Emily Woodruff. Emily is a virtual assistant at Moxie Assist, and she works with female photographers to offload their administrative backlog. My gosh, that sounds lovely. She has over 10 years of experience as a photographer and over 15 years experience as an administrator. So virtual assistant work is her jam. She loves working with CRMs, creating templates, the back end of websites, organization, marketing materials, you name it. Emily is also the host of the No Mercy Business podcast, on which yours truly has been a guest before. Good morning, Emily. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, so tell me about your business because the combination of this specialty of photography and assisting and how did you get into that?
Well, so I was a photographer for, like you said, about 10 years or so. And I loved it. And it was just something I did kind of on the side. And when COVID hit, it really tanked my business, for lack of better words. I'm in Michigan, and not to get political, but we had lots and lots of lockdown that a lot of the country didn't.
Yeah.
And so we were completely unable to shoot for I think like 7 months, even outdoors, and that just really was bad for my business. And it seems like the traction never picked back up.
Mm,
Um, I tried to do different little things to get, to stay in people's inboxes and stay relevant, and tried to do digital things with them. And I sold a couple little things here and there, but it just never really picked back up. And so I've always done something on the side, and I just knew that I don't think it's gonna come back to normal. So
mhm.
I started thinking about skills that I have and ways that I can be useful. And I kind of started doing like digital downloads and went down that road for a little while, but I'm too impatient to wait for Etsy to pick up and Pinterest to really find me. So I kind of just threw all that away, and I love it. It's fun. I totally can do that, but I was looking for something right now. So I started kind of working for a friend who has an online platform. She's got like 20,000 followers or something, and she has ADHD and can't do any tasks on her own, which is great because she needs me all the
Mhm.
time. So I started helping her with some of the more administrative things. And then through that, just kind of, hey, I think I can do this. Hey, I really think I can do this. Why have I never thought of this? I've worked in offices my whole life. I have a bachelor's degree, in administration and management and business management. Like, I have all of the things that lead me to this place. And ideally, someday I would like to just have my own full blown business. This is still kind of a side hustle, but um, it led to me working with a photographer. And I realized this is like the best of both worlds, because
Right.
not only do I have administrative background, but I have the photography background, and I can help photographers on their platforms where they deliver their images to their clients. I understand their lingo. I know how long the editing process takes. I don't love to take on editing tasks, but I can do some if they need it. I know how to talk to that client base because I've done it for years. And it just kind of was like the heavens opened, and it made sense that this is where I'm supposed to be. And I still kind of like feel like I can do my photographer thing, and it's allowed me to just niche down in the portraits that I still will take. I just do less of them.
Mhm.
Um and they align with my new business more than they did before. I used to just kind of, oh, you want to take this kind of picture? Sure. Let's go do some newborns, and then I'm going to take family and senior pictures in the same day, and it's just not an efficient way to run a business.
Right.
Um where this is consistent work all the time. I am calling myself fully booked. I have two photographers that I work for. Um, and because I'm part time, I could do more if I was full time, but I work on them in the evenings, and I'm able to help them like with their websites and with um, their CRM, and kind
Yeah.
of getting their email organization under control. And
I
yeah.
think it's really it's so valuable to have someone who's worked in your field when you are running your own business and you get to a stage where you need a virtual assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And I coach other coaches, and I've seen coaches get to the place where they need someone to do a project for them. But my niche is financial coaching, right? These
Yeah.
other coaches typically are financial coaches. Well, finding a virtual assistant who can work on a project specifically for a financial coach can be difficult.
Yes.
So it's not that weird to me at all that you have niched into this place of being an assistant to photographers. I guarantee you, if 20,000 people watch this video, 200 of them are interested in photography, but they don't have the skill set. They don't have the time. They don't want to work on the back of house stuff. They just want to do the
Mm-hmm.
photography side. This is not that weird to me. And I'm starting to see this happening in a lot of fields where people are saying, hey, I did X, Y, and Z for a while, but it wasn't really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me help you out on the back end. Let me be the silent partner behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
Yeah. And it truly is. And right now in the virtual assistant world, they are saying that there's a need. So it's a 4-to-1 ratio. There are 4 business owners who need the services that virtual assistants provide right now. There's not enough of us. And that's amazing to me in this newly online world, this newly virtual world. But I think we're slowly starting to make ourselves known, and a lot of people are going through the courses right now and starting to learn that it's something that they can do. And it's really great for people who have kids at home. Um, I would say moms for me and my niche, but dads can do it too. If you know how to work a computer and you're an organized person, find something that you love and tap into it and drill down and find the things that you know that you can make money on. The more you do it, the less time you have to spend on it, because then you don't have to work a 40-hour week anymore. You can niche down and learn those tools. Obviously when you start, it takes longer to do your process, but the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Of course.
So eventually you'll end up working 5, 6 hours a week per client. That's really great.
Yeah.
And you can level yourself up financially as your skills grow and as um, just your education grows in it. So
I
it's
also think
fun.
another way to do that is as you start to be, I remember people telling me, find something that you're good at and become invaluable at it. And that's now we're finding something, then we're finding a segment of it, then we're really drilling down, and now we're becoming invaluable at it. And
Hmm.
photographers are going to hear about, hey, this girl Emily's been helping me and she knows her stuff because she used to be a photographer.
Hmm.
Or she, sometimes still does it just for her family. But but
Yeah.
getting into this, people get a little worried when they start to niche down, and that's really where you find your sweet spot. And I'm sure
Yes,
you realize that over the last year.
for sure. And I think it's true for pretty much any entrepreneurship. If you go into it and you want to address things in a vast arena, it's way more difficult because you're talking to so many different audiences. You can't narrow down who you're talking to. Your voice is going to change with different types of people that you're working with. Where if you know that this is the group that you can relate to, these are the things that they like to do. And I'm not like micro niched down. Some people, I just say female photographers, but
Oh yeah.
some some virtual assistants will say, I work with female boudoir photographers who make 6 figures and up. Like they have very specific criteria before they even entertain that person as a client.
Yeah.
Granted, we're at different areas in our career journey at that point, but you can just keep going and going and going and determine exactly who you want to work for, and it will present itself. The better you get at your skills, the work is there.
Yes, and that's where the referrals come in, because once
Hmm.
that one person says, "This person is niched and has become invaluable to me," when they refer you to somebody else who's in that same position, it's almost like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, hey, I need this person." So,
Yeah.
that's so interesting, and the lockdowns, to go back to it for a second, destroyed businesses. It
Yeah.
didn't matter how opened or closed your state was, if you agreed with it or not. I was at a winery last night for a birthday party,
Hmm.
and it was in the same shopping center as this fantastic Italian restaurant that used to be open. And I looked across, and sure enough, it's not there. And the
Yeah.
owner of the winery said, COVID got them.
Hmm.
COVID got them, and they never came back. And it was probably one of the best Italian places in the city I live in,
Yeah.
and it's gone, and it's empty now. So,
Yeah.
and she said it went very quickly, like almost
Hmm.
immediately. And so, whether you hung on till the end or it happened immediately, it was a shock for the small to medium sized businesses of America when we went into that, and other countries, but when we went into those
Yeah.
lockdowns for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I know anybody who had to shut their doors, it was devastating for them because it's something that you dream about and you work towards typically your whole life, unless you're, a true entrepreneur where you decide on something at noon and then you've got it going by 7 o'clock, Some of us are crazy, but a lot of people, they save and they work and they do everything they can for their entire lives to get to that opening day, and then to have it closed because of the things that were going on is just devastating. It's not even because of something you did. I could deal with the failure if it's because I did it,
Yeah.
but you know, and I had been at the point, we have a trailer. It's not anything fancy, but I had turned it into my studio and I was starting to get more clients and I had, themed rooms and things in there, and we had plans to renovate and make things better so that it didn't have to be in my house or right in my backyard and I could have a different address for my business, which was a safety thing for me.
Yeah.
And it just the timing of things, those doors
Yeah.
being closed was like, it just felt like my whole world was crushed. So this is really exciting to have something that I don't know of anybody else that specializes in this. So, and
Mhm.
if they are, that's great, but I just don't know very many of them.
Right.
So it's really exciting to see what could come from it. And especially I love working with small business owners, no matter where I'm at. Um, it's really fun to see people who are really getting it and turning their business into something bigger and achieving their goals. And, there's a lot of empowerment that comes with it, which I really, really love. And it's just really cool to see people like, wow, I never knew that I could do all of these things. And
Yeah.
I just talked to my most recent client the other day. She said, even knowing that there's someone out there that's like you is a relief to me. It's a weight off of my shoulders because I didn't know that someone like you existed.
Yeah.
Thinking about a virtual assistant, like she only has so much that she could offload, like in terms of invoicing. There's a lot of programs that can do all that stuff automatically for you. And do, do you really want to pay somebody else to do that for you? You want to just add another cost? But all of the things that I can do are things that are on her actual to-do list. And
Right.
when I was talking to her, I just said, you're not alone. Like, this is literally every photography business. This is their goal. This is what every single photography business owner wants to do. You are right there, and we're going to get you through it. So,
Right.
yeah.
That's awesome. And you talk to a lot of other business owners through
Hmm.
your podcasts.
Yep.
And do you see them having similar issues where maybe they're at that point of scaling and they just need to make that leap into bringing on help or bringing on that software or whatever their particular issue is?
I think so. There's a lot of I talk to all different types of women in business. Here's one of my critters. Um,
Ah,
I forgot about the cat. Um, I talk to all different types of business. So some of them are brick and mortar, and some of them are solely digital, or they're coaches, or they're X, Y, and Z. And some of them, it's easier for them to entertain the idea of a virtual assistant, and others have physical bodies in their brick and mortar that's a receptionist or their assistant. And I'm kind of phasing into that in my next season on my show. The need for a virtual assistant, and then it doesn't have to be full time. It doesn't have to be like an employee like everyone thinks it is. You can hire a virtual assistant for anything. If it's one project that you need done and you just don't have the hours in the day to do it, you can do that. We love that stuff. So it's fun to kind of have those conversations, and my show is getting ready to shift in that direction for sure and kind of hear more. What are you guys looking for? Like what's on your plate and what are things that I can reach out to my VA friends and send your way, you know?
Yeah. And we'll have all of Emily's contact information in the show notes so you guys can click on her show after we're done with this. But we have gotten to the most important part, Emily. I have created this show to help people realize we all make financial mistakes. So, what would you say is the dumbest thing you've ever done with money?
I mean, I think honestly, like probably the blindness that I had when I went into college and signed up for student loans and didn't realize what it would take to pay them back.
Mm,
um, I was fortunate that my parents did most of my paperwork for me in one sense, but in the other sense, I didn't know what I was signed up for. I didn't know what I was in for. I didn't know any of the terms. I didn't know 30 years just seemed like so far off that I didn't care. And not in the way that I think about debt now. Like 30 years to have debt is terrifying, you know?
yeah.
I would never sign something like that at this point, but back
Yeah.
then that's just what everybody does. It's fine. And um just not realizing how much impact it would have on me later in life.
Mhm.
Um and not reading the terms and conditions on a couple credit cards that had over 20% interest on them. That's a
Oh,
big.
the interest rates, man. And it's not abnormal for me to, when I'm onboarding a new coaching client, it's not abnormal for me to see interest rates of 31.99% and 32.99% now. So 20
Yeah.
for a major credit card would actually be low in my mind in
Hmm.
2023, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So when you were getting ready to go to college, I'm guessing you were 17, 18 years old. We're doing this
Hmm.
paperwork and we're looking at different schools. Um, the the input that we have as 17 or 18-year-olds in a decision that could affect us for 30 years, or picking our major, which is likely going to affect us for the rest of our
Yeah.
lives. How much do you think um, we take our heads and we put it in the sand, or we just aren't told about some of the stuff that's happening?
I mean, completely. Like, I think that our society is so strange with money because we talk about like being prepared for retirement and later on in life and being able to do these things and having emergency funds, and that all makes great sense. But then when we make the largest purchases of our lives, we have to do it in like split seconds. So you have to fill out all this paperwork without even really knowing the cost of school. Because you fill it out depending on, it doesn't matter what school you go to, it's all the same answers.
Right.
If you're somebody who applied to multiple schools or something, I don't know, it could be a $30,000 loan. Exactly. Yeah.
10 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, like it could be a $30,000 loan for 1 year, or it could be 75, depending on where you go.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a crapshoot in the beginning. But then, like, we buy houses after you see it once or twice. Like, how insane is that? We buy a car after driving it down the street once, and now you're stuck with it for 5 or 8 or 10 years. Or, like, what do you mean, We
That's a
literally, the
great
car that I
point.
have now, yeah, we bought this car, we drove it. My husband's always like, we gotta make it go really fast and see how it does, and we did all these things. We test all the buttons, everything worked, but we didn't have it long enough to realize that, yeah, the heat is kicking on, but it only kicks on one side of the car. It was the most expensive car I have ever bought. It was my dream car, and we got it home, and it literally cooks my husband in the passenger seat
And you're
in the
freezing.
summer, in the summertime. And then in the winter, it just puts cold air out on his side. So
Oh, and
I'm like, man,
I know, and I am a huge proponent of used cars. I actually was
yeah.
raised to I never had a new car in my entire life.
Hmm.
I am turning 40 this year, and I still haven't had a new car.
Good for you.
And that's part of what you unfortunately accept when you get a used car. But what
Yeah.
you're also the trade-off is I can't remember the calculation right now, but new cars lose 10% the second you leave the parking lot, 15%, and it, changes every year depending on the price of cars and the
Yeah.
price of used cars or whatever. So I could be a little low actually. But it literally loses so much value the second you pull it out of the parking lot.
Yeah.
And the second you become the first owner, because now it's used.
Yep.
Because now you go to resell it and you can no longer say no, even if you just drove it from the dealership to your house, it is now a
Yep.
used car, whatever. And so there goes the value. So that's the kind of stuff that you kind of accept, right? When you go and buy
Yeah.
a used car. So, but you make a great point. Going back to the very beginning, what you said, where, by the way, the home buying process is so
It's
emotional.
unreal. Yeah.
It's to me, out of the 3 things you mentioned, college, home buying, and car buying, I think the most emotional one is the home buying, because
Yeah.
it's where you are going to live. It's where your family is going to live. It's where your kids are going to grow up. It's where your dog and your kitty are going to be.
Yeah.
And it's so emotional, and we've seen the house twice,
Mhm.
maybe a 3rd time if we went to the inspection,
Mhm.
and it's a 30-year mortgage 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And we've just signed on that bottom line, and like you said, it goes real quick when you're just signing that title paperwork.
Yeah. And you try so hard to, like, just using the house example, you try to walk through and pick it apart. And I mean, we looked at several houses, and when we finally settled on this one, it felt like we were never going to find a house that we loved. And we got here and the land sold us and gave us the rose colored glasses. And we just, yeah, it's okay that it's got fuel oil for the heat. Oh, it's okay that this is here and this is here. And literally like a month after we moved in, we were like, it only checks like 3 boxes on our list of must-haves. What did we do? You know?
Right.
And now we're here and I'm like, I am never moving again. I'm never doing it. I'm gonna die here. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
moving is
never
so
doing it.
emotional too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's moved frequently, the good part about moving is you offload a lot of stuff that you didn't really need. The
Mhm.
bad part is moving all the rest of it that you still
Yeah.
need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what would you have done differently specifically about the college loans if you could go back in time?
Well, so like I was always somebody who had jobs and multiple jobs at that. Um, I worked like three jobs and went to school full time my entire college career. I didn't put anything on my student loans. I maybe put $20 like once a year, like, oh, I should be making payments towards this. I know that I should, but I I would have paid it off while I was doing it, while I was accruing it, or at least
Mhm.
made small payments. I could have done $100 a month or so, I didn't have tons of money. I also owned a house when I was 20 years old.
Mm,
So I had different bills than typical college kids, but it was cheaper than rent. It was my college
yeah.
house. That was the purpose I bought it. Bought it for was just to have cheap rent while I was in college and a semi decent home. Um, but I could have taken the rent that I charged my tenants and things and put that right on my student loans. And I just wish that I would have thought about my future because I kind of treated my college loans like my mortgage. I knew I wasn't going to keep that house forever, so I didn't care to invest into it. This house is different. We try to do the 13th payment thing and make better money decisions here, but I kind of treated anything that was when I was 20 years old like it's not going to
Yeah.
affect me. It's so far
Right.
out. It's so, I want my money now. I want to have this for what I'm doing today. I want to go to the bar. I want to go and do this. I don't want to pay off my invisible debt. You don't see it. I don't
Right.
get any
Yes.
kickback from that. But
Exactly. That's a great point about a lot of people still look at mortgages that way, because it's like,
yeah,
"Oh, it's 30 years, it's gonna be there, whatever, it's my home." Well, technically, it's still the bank's
it's
home
not.
until you pay off the mortgage. Just because it's in the background and your mortgage is on auto pay and you have it set up to make the 13th payment every June or whatever, their calculation is,
Hmm.
doesn't mean that it's not something that shouldn't be focused on.
Yeah.
Now, if we have credit card debt of 20 to 35%,
Yeah.
that's obviously much more in our face, like, oh my God, this balance isn't going down. It's so high. It's so high. The interest rate is just every time I open it, it's getting higher and higher and higher. So that's the kind of stuff that's in our face. Whereas the mortgage is kind of this, I hesitate to use this word, but passive debt
Yeah,
people are like, yep, it'll get paid off eventually. But when you get to a place of having no consumer debt, why not pay off the house? Sure,
right.
there's tax benefits, but the benefit of not having a mortgage payment every month would definitely outweigh that tax benefit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, so for us, we're stupid enough that the trailer that I'm talking about, we have 2 parcels of land. So we have 2 mortgages. So
Oh,
we're
yeah.
dumb. It's great, but we think about it a lot. I'll just say that.
But no, and a lot of people do that because for other, different reasons. Somebody's going to build a house on the other parcel. That's where we're going to move to eventually, or that's where the in-laws are going to be, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, the good news is it's not like you've invested in, I don't know, 25 cars and they're all just sitting on that piece of
Right.
land and they're all rotting.
Right.
The land is still going to go up in value. So.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I really want to have you just give us, what would you say it would be your advice to somebody who's like, oh, student loans, everybody has student loans. What are you going to do about it? That kind of thing. Your 17-year-old self.
Yeah, for my 17-year-old self, I would have just said, even if I took literally $20 a week, $20 a paycheck, and put it on my student loans while I was in school, if I would have just made it a regular bill, I would have
Mm,
kept the interest away from several of my loans without even trying, or put it into a savings account so that when I was done in school, it would be ready for me to pay it off. I that's invaluable to me. I wish somebody would have
yeah.
made that suggestion, and that I'm sure that they did. I wish I would have listened to that suggestion. Um, I'm sure that I was told it, but
Yeah.
$10 and $20 in your pocket just feels like the world, a kid on your own. And in
Yeah.
reality, like I say, I wanted to go to the bar or I wanted to go out to eat with my friends, and the only thing I have from that is just fat, you know? Like, not things that I want to hold on to, and nothing that's going to do any good for me later in life. So I wish I
Yeah,
would have,
I really
yeah,
appreciate your honesty with that because it's so true. We look back and we're like, what were we thinking? But someone probably said to us, hey, here's an idea. Just throw $100 every time you get paid at the
yeah.
student loan. And had we just set that up on auto pay, what would life look like? So,
And
well, thank you so
yeah.
much, Emily. I really appreciate it. Your honesty is very refreshing. Because it's, these are financial blunders and we want other people to learn from our mistakes. So thanks again for joining me. All of Emily's
Thank you.
information is down below, guys. Make sure to check out her podcast and her website and follow her on Instagram. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.